Hey there guys, Tom here. Welcome back to my movie channel and thank you very much for joining me for my review of the brand new video game movie Uncharted. Uncharted stars Tom Holland as Nathan Drake, and then of course you have Mark Wahlberg playing Victor Sullivan or Sully, and they're hunting for some gold and it's Uncharted. And if you guys haven't been here before, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring that notifications bell so you never miss out on my take on all things movies. And I'm sorry if you can't hear me over this shirt. So, Uncharted. This is a movie I've been looking forward to for quite some time now. I really love Tom Holland, and I've played a little bit of Uncharted. I played a little bit of the fourth Uncharted game, and I didn't mind it, but I'm not a huge hardcore Uncharted fan. Like, I'm no expert in the games, and so I was ready to, see whatever this movie was going to show me. I know when they cast Tom Holland as a younger Nathan Drake, it got a lot of people upset, but I was like, Tom Holland's cool. I like Tom Holland. And if they want to go a bit younger with Nathan Drake, then let them go younger, because I understood the thinking, right? You cast younger, it means franchise potential. He could be playing this role for the next 10 to 15 years, theoretically. Although I understand someone like a Nathan Fillion, looks like the guy in the video game. And this movie's fine. Like, I'm not overly impressed with this film, and I'll get into why in a bit here. But I wanted to talk about the Tom Holland thing for a second, because not being a big, massive hardcore Uncharted nerd, I was like, listen, let them go younger if they want to. They're telling a story, and Tom Holland's cool. I'm watching this movie, and as someone who isn't a hardcore Uncharted fan, I still couldn't shake the feeling that Tom Holland in this role maybe wasn't the right fit. And I don't think it's just about the fact that he's younger. There's something about it in this movie where I just don't buy him as this guy, right? Like, that's really all it comes down to. I really just don't buy him as Nathan Drake. Him and Mark Wahlberg, though, do have great chemistry in this film, and I think that really is a real strong point of the movie for me, where I enjoyed their camaraderie and their teamwork and their banter back and forth. I enjoyed all that stuff. I just couldn't shake this feeling that it doesn't feel like Tom Holland was the right fit for this role. I know a lot of people are going to think, well, he doesn't fit the role because he doesn't look like the Nathan Drake in the video games and he's not older like that guy is, and I get all that, and maybe there's an aspect of that to it as well. And I think it's probably because, Tom Holland, even though he's in his mid-20s, the dude looks like he's 16. He still looks like a kid. It really speaks to something with video game adaptations, and this is something, the studio's been trying to crack the code on good video game adaptations for years now, and there hasn't really been a great one, right? We've had a couple of okay ones, but we haven't had one that they finally figured it out. And I still don't think they figured it out with Uncharted, because in the little bit of the games that I have played, and I've watched some of the cutscene movies and things like that of the Uncharted series, I was more invested in those stories and those characters than I was in this movie. And while I don't believe that just because it's an adaptation that means you have to copy and paste from the source material, I don't believe that at all. I think there should be a fair amount of adaptation done because it's two different mediums. However, I think it does say something when the storytelling and the characters and the writing in the video games is better than it is in the movie, where they arguably put a lot more money and resources behind it. And I think if it wasn't for the charisma of Tom Holland in this film and his chemistry with Mark Wahlberg, I think this movie is even more flat than it is now. I just felt like this movie felt bland. Bland is the word I use to describe the film. Like, I didn't sit there, I wasn't hating myself watching the movie. I wasn't sitting there regretting that I'd gone to see the film, and there are enjoyable things in it. I just found the movie a little bit bland and a little bit like, we've seen all of this before. There is nothing in this movie that breaks any ground. There's nothing in this movie that we haven't already seen. And I kind of felt like, for a movie that is based on a video game that is so beloved by so many people, that has had so many different, like, it's been in development hell for like 15 years. It's gone through like 8 different directors and 75 different release dates. And I just would have thought that a movie that's, had such a long road to actually getting made and being released, the final product would have been something a little bit more special and had a little bit more of a, twinkle in its eye. But here's some of the things I enjoyed, though. Some of the sequences I enjoyed, you've seen them in the trailers. The cargo plane sequence was quite good. I enjoyed that sequence, and they do kind of, they kind of lead with a bit of that sequence, and then they jump back and then they go back to it later in a bit of a non-linear storytelling kind of fashion, which I thought was good. I thought that was the right decision. Open with, a big bang, so to speak. But for the most part, with these adventure movies, with something like Raiders of the Lost Ark or Last Crusade, which is my favorite Indiana Jones movie, by the way, the journey of Indiana Jones or someone like that figuring out, discovering clues and putting the puzzle pieces together. Oh, this is the key that unlocks this door, and you need to put the two keys together at a certain point to unlock this door, and things like that. In things like Last Crusade and Raiders of the Lost Ark, those sequences were interesting, entertaining, and every bit as entertaining as, the amazing, fight scenes or action scenes or explosions or whatever. And in Uncharted, at a certain point, it just felt like we're going through the paces, we're doing the steps, we're treading all this ground, and it was just boring. In Last Crusade, I go back to that scene in Last Crusade where they're in Venice, they're in the big library, and, the whole X marks the spot scene, like, all that stuff. That was very immersive and interesting, and you got sucked into the moment, and you were invested. And in Uncharted, there are a couple of sequences like that, and I'm like, yeah, it's nothing we haven't seen before, and it just felt like this movie was going through every generic, tropey adventure movie step that it could. And I think that's my biggest problem with the movie, is that it's just a generic adventure film. I thought I'd be an easier person to please with this movie. This movie didn't have like the high bar that it would have had with some hardcore Uncharted nerds. And so I walked in with a pretty clean slate for this film, but I just found it generic and bland and a little boring in parts, and that's really disappointing because Sony's been on a pretty good roll lately, especially with Spider-Man No Way Home, and I just don't think that this is going to be the big franchise starter that they think it's going to be. I mean, I hope for the best. If they do another one, I'll see it because I love Tom Holland. He's a dude I really like in this business. I like Mark Wahlberg as well, and I like their chemistry together, so I'd see a second one for that reason. But otherwise, I didn't really enjoy this film, guys. So what did you guys think of Uncharted? Have you seen it yet? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching. Remember, guys, if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, make sure you do that and leave a comment down below. And I've already said that. But my name is Tom. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.